Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Leontech 3 month skills training. This is the third lecture on the Autodesk Revit Architecture 2020 class, and I am Alfred Mbayo. Today, we will be looking at the prerequisites to design, preparations you need to put in place before you start designing your structure or your architectural model. So, we will be looking at setting up units. We will also look at setting up levels, then rearranging toolbars on your workspace, and then how you can customize your workspace. So let's jump into the Revit architecture environment. So basically, under the architectural tab, of course, we have these tools organized, and then we have the property tool palette on the left hand side, and I have moved my project browser towards the right. So by default, this is how you would see the tools organized in Revit architecture when you open the software for the first time. So basically you have the manage tab in this view. On the manage tab is where you can set the way the software works. So first, we would go ahead and set the units in which you want to operate. So you have this small icon here under the setting tab. So I click on this. So you see here I have my units and the format towards the left and right. And actually this is a common type of unit system that is displayed here. So in this drop down menu, you see that you can select a basic precept where the unit will kind of readjust themselves automatically to that kind of precept. For example, if I select the structural precept here, you see the units here will be purely structural. Also, I can select the HVAC, heating and ventilation, air conditioning system type of unit, or I can select the electrical type of unit. You see the electrical units here, depending on the design I'm doing. So we are starting off with a comma. So you see here length measurement for this unit system is a meter. You can select whether feet or inches or whatever kind of unit you want there for measurement of length. And then you can select the number of decimal places after the whole numbers that you would want to be rounding up. And then also the unit symbol, whether to display it or not to display it after the figure on the unit when it displays on your workspace. So we'll go ahead and use millimeter for this class, and we are leaving almost everything the way they are. We are leaving the area measurements in meter square, we are leaving the volume in meter cube, angles in degrees, slopes also in degrees. Currency, well, we'll not have much to do with currency for here because we're not calculating any money, we are not accountant. So let's say we are okay with these settings for the unit. The other thing also you can set here is the snap options, because basically when you're doing your designs, there are chances that selecting the vertices of objects, the edge of lines, connection of walls, and so on and so forth, it becomes very difficult for you to do them accurately by yourself. So basically you can set your snap options from here. Object snap would be some kind of a magnetic function that will be on each of your model components, so that when you go close to one component, it becomes like indicating some point of magnetism where you can just snap to quickly and then you continue with your design. So you see that the object snap options here, we can select midpoint, endpoint, nearest point, work plane, grids, and so on and so forth. So you can uncheck or check each and every one of this one depending on your design requirement. Or you can choose to turn off all snap options from this single checkbox here. But for this design or for this class, we are actually leaving these snap options checked. That means we want to use them in our model. So of course you can also set some basic model options here for design options. We'll not have much to do with that. So let's say we are okay with how we've set the unit and snap options. We are not doing anything for now with materials. So we are okay with the way the material setting is. The machine is not responding for now. So we are okay with the preset materials here. When there is time for material application in a whole topic, we'll discuss that. So we are coming back to the architectural tab. Now you see that the toolbars are organized here in kind of a sequence. So basically, when you first start your architectural design, there are chances that you have to first do your building using this building component. Then you can go ahead and do stairs and so before you start thinking about some modeling in rooms. And then you see that you can create openings and datums and so. So they are organized in this kind of a sequence. But if you're not okay with the way they are organized, there's always a way you can reorganize them. Say, for instance, if I'm not okay with the position of this build tab here as it is now, I can click and hold it and drag it to this extreme point and then drop it there depending on where I want it. So I can drag it towards this extreme left and drop it there. Of course, that was its default position. But let's say I want to have my build tab somewhere here. I can merely click and hold on the name and drag somewhere here, then drop it here. So it is very closer to my workspace because I'll be using most of the tools here on this build tab frequently. Or I can even bring it back to where it was by default. Or maybe my datum tab, I can just click and hold it, drag it off, and then drop it somewhere around here where I will be able to use it more frequently and access it more easily. So this is how you can reorganize the tools. So you see, of course, you have your property tool palette on the left window here by default. You can also click and hold and drag and position it wherever you want it, where you will be convenient using it. So I am convenient with it. Okay, let's say you want to put it on the top of the window. You can position it there. And of course, you see the space it has taken, and the workspace available for work here is not that much. So we don't want it there. So let's say we position it on the left window here, and then we just reduce it to a considerable size so that it doesn't have to block the workspace. The same thing for the project browser. You can actually reposition the project browser depending on where you want it to appear or where you can access it easily, because these are the tabs you will really be using more frequently: project browser and property tool palette. You will be doing them frequently. So this is the workspace, and you see we have these 4 callouts that are there by default. So you really have to kind of create levels in Revit Architecture to kind of specify the floor platform levels for each of your floors in a multiple story building. So by default, of course, in the project browser, that is where you would really have different sections of the model you're designing. So under the views here, if I click on this small plus here, you will see an extension of the different views I can see. So I can see the floor plans. So I can click on the plus sign also by the left hand side of the floor plans, and then you will see that there are 2 levels in there originally. I have level 0, I have level 1. So on this workspace, the level you are on presently will be the one that is bold out, and then the rest of the other levels in there will be faded out. So since I am on level 0, you see level 0 is bold out here, and I have these 4 call out on this floor plan indicating that I am on the floor plan view also. And then you, of course, you have the site, you have the levels, and so. And then you see also you have the ceiling plans. Ceiling plans, of course, for each of the levels in the model, you would have ceiling plans for them here in this drop down. And then I can also view the 3D model. That is, if I have done the floor plan. You can go ahead and click on this 3D plus icon here, and then under there I can click on the 3D, and then it will show me the 3D model of my design. I also can go to the elevation views, click on this plus icon, and then you see an extension for the elevation views. We have 4 standard elevation views. We have the east, north, south, and west. Of course, you can go into that elevation view and create whatever datum you want to create. So you also have legends, you have schedules, sheets, and so on and so forth. You can go ahead, and so for each project, you will have all of these different sections in your project. From time to time, you really want to be switching between them. So you have your families, you have your groups, and of course you can link files to the Revit architecture. So now let's see how we can create basic levels and data. So basically, to create a level, of course you have to be in the elevation view. So depending on which elevation view you want, then you can go ahead and come to this elevation tab here in the project browser, and then I can click on the elevation views here. But mind you, the one facing you downward here, maybe it would be this. So, or if you can really come to the call out, you double click on the call out, you'll be able to go to the precise elevation you want to view. So if I want to go to this, I will call it front elevation. This may be the front of my structure. If I want to go into this elevation view, I just merely have to kind of double click on this call out, and then it will take me to that elevation view. Okay. Or I can still come to this point, say I double click here on this east elevation view, and then I will have this. Or I can go to north elevation view, I have this, or south, depending on where I want to position my levels. So basically, any of the views you click on in there, you see the views are opening right at the top of the workspace here. So I have my level 0 here that was there initially, but then I open a 3D view, it is here. I also open the east, north, south, and west views. Of course, they are here. And then you have your view cube, which you can use in 3D to go to the different standard views. So you see, if you click on this vertex here, this hotspot, to take you to a standard isometric view, or should I say standard northeast or southwest or whatever view you want to see. And then you have a home tab, you can click on it, it will take you to your home view. So let's say we want to create one level. Now let's say we have this. So basically, to create a level, you have the datum tab. Let me just click and drag it and position it here. So you have the datum tab in your on your ribbon here under the structural tab. So in here, I can create levels and grids. So basically, you just click on any of the tools here you want to apply. I want to apply a level, so I click on this level here. Of course, you can see a preview on how the tool works. So I can come here. You see there is a snap option towards the vertex of the existing levels. I can click once, and then I can drag towards whatever point, and then I drop it there. Okay, so depending on, so you see it is also totally inverse. So I can come somewhere around here, you can click and then drag towards this point and then drop. Okay, so after you've created your level, you would have the opportunity to set its elevation relative to the existing level, or the most immediate level from this figure here. Or you can go ahead and set its absolute elevation starting all the way from level 0 here. So you see that there is a relationship between the absolute elevation and the relative elevation here. So the relative elevation is starting from the most immediate, or the preceding level here, level 1. So the relative elevation of level 2 starts from level 1. So it is measured away from level 1. And then the absolute elevation of level 2 starts all the way from the level 0. So if I edit the relative elevation of level 1 from, of level 2 from level 1, click on this figure, you see I can type the elevation of that particular level. Say for instance, I type 3 meter, that is 3000 millimeters. Then I click enter here. You see that it has repositioned itself. And then you also see that the absolute elevation has now gone to 7 meter, simply because level 1 is 4 meter away from level 0. So since I have typed 3 meter for level 2 away from level 1, that means the total elevation of level 2 from level 0 will be the 4 meter that was there between 0 and 1, and then the 3 meter that is between 1 and 2. So any one of these two parameters here you edit, it will have a consequence on the other parameter. So this is how you create levels, and of course you have these lock markers here. You can go ahead and unlock or keep them locked. That would kind of enable you to apply some other modification commands to this particular level you have created. So you see that when creating levels, also when you click on the level tool here, you will see some quick access or your modified tools here on the immediate top of the window. So you can select which kind of level you are creating, or the level you are creating, which kind of views on the model it should create. So you see that we can create this level such that it gives us a ceiling plan, a floor plan, and a structural plan all together, this single level we are creating. So if we are not interested in a structural plan, we can uncheck the structural plan option. But if we are interested in all, then we can go ahead and check the structural plan option. So we won't check the structural plan option for now. We don't want to create any structural plan. And then we can click OK from there. So you see that when we go now to create the level, this one will not give you any structural plan, okay, as compared to the first one we created. So you can merely grip on any of the levels and then you edit them physically. Okay, so basically this is how you create levels. Creating grids, of course, you can be probably in a plan view. For instance, if I am on a floor plan, say I am on level 1, I double click on level 1. So here I am now. I can go ahead and create level grids. So just similar to how you created the levels, click and hold it drag to some point. So you see that this is a grid starting with number 1. This is the very first grid line I have created. So say I go ahead again and create another grid. For this now, let's say we have an offset value here of say 10 feet. Let's strike enter from there. So if I click somewhere around here, bring it towards here, so you can have this. So these are structural grids or your grid lines. Of course, you can set them as some values you really want. So another interesting thing about Revit is that you can work between units. So initially we had set this particular design or this particular model to be in millimeter as our unit. But now in this particular view here, whilst creating your levels or any other design component or element, you can go ahead and type whatever unit. For instance, let's say I only know that this level, this grid line should be 10 meter away from this other grid line, or let me say 10 feet away from this other grid line. So, but converting 10 feet to 10 meter, I probably do not have a calculator with me, or I do not even know the conversion factor. So what I do, I just type the 10 feet, but just ensure you give it the appropriate unit. So 10 feet is just one stripe. So I click enter, so you will see that it has converted the 10 feet to millimeter here, which happens to be 3048 millimeter. So you can do this for walls and for any other component that requires dimensioning. So this will bring us to the end of the class for today. In other subsequent classes, we will dive deep into creating walls on different levels and commanding walls.